Hi there, it's Greg Miliatis from StreamLine, and today I want to talk to you about collecting AR. As most of you know who've tried to do it, collecting AR can be a huge pain, to say the least, and typically nearly all firms do the same thing, which is to say they basically do nothing to collect AR. Now the reason why I'll talk about it here in just a sec, but the few firms who do attempt to do it have to do it using a very manual way in ProLaw. So let's take a look. So to do the AR collection process in ProLaw, after you've sent out all your statements, generated your statements, you then have to go into Ledger and then query up the AR statements, the clients who owe AR.
And you generate a report from Ledger. You group it by the clients. And then you split that report into client-specific PDFs. So each PDF has each client's AR statement of account on it. Then you manually have to create an email, write up an email to each client that says, here's your AR status report, statement of account, here's how to pay, whatever. Then you have to go out, find that client-specific PDF Ledger report, and attach that PDF to the email that you drafted. Once you've done that, then you can go ahead and click the email, it goes out to the client. What happens next, though, is that when clients reply and they will reply, then they ask you for the original statements that they owe AR. Because already said before that they're listed. Here's the list of the AR. So, to find the actual original statements, you have to go to Ledger, switch to that client's AR statements, and then you've got to export each of those statements as a separate PDF, and go and put in your file system, manually attach each and every one of them to email. Once you've done that, then you're ready to send email.
And then you've got to go on to the next client, and the next client, and the next client, ad nauseum. So, you can see how this is a pain. It's super time consuming, it's super cumbersome. And to truly manage AR, you'd really need like a full-time staff person, not just an accounting person who's tasked with all kinds of other things, invoicing and everything else, but really a full-time person who's dedicated to collecting AR and managing it. Even if you had a full-time person, you'd still risk sending the wrong statements to clients, because if you've got a lot of clients who owe money, a lot of statements, what ends up happening is this is sort of like a multi-step, rather cumbersome process that you have to do for each and every client. And if you're like 99.9% of people out there, myself included, if you're doing this repetitive series of steps over and over again, do steps 1 through 13, repeat, 1 through 13, repeat, so on and so forth. By the time you've done those series of steps 3, 4, or 12 times, you kind of start forgetting what you did. Oh, did I attach those things, the PDF? Oh, did I email it to the right person? Oh, did I remember to say this? So you get the point. You're going to end up running the risk of sending the wrong statements, the wrong AR, to the wrong client, which is kind of a big exposure. So managing and collecting AR can be a huge struggle and time suck. And the more clients who owe you money, the more time and hard it is to manage all those AR collections. That's why in reality, most firms do virtually nothing to collect their AR, even though they may have hundreds of thousands, literally millions of dollars in assets that are ready to be paid. So that's how most firms do it, or rather not do it. So let me tell you how one firm actually did it differently. So before they started doing it differently, they were doing it like the old way, like 99% of firms do it. They had about $9.2 million in AR from hundreds and hundreds of clients. And because they had all this AR from hundreds and hundreds of clients, they had done virtually nothing to collect on these assets. Once the firm decided to do something about it, though, they collected about $1.5 million in 4 to 5 weeks or so. And they even got paid on statements that were older than 1 year. So these were statements that had been sitting out there for a long time. They hadn't been doing anything to collect on them, and they had sort of mentally written it off that they were never going to get paid on it. So how do they do this? So to make it happen, to be able to collect all that money, what they ended up doing is they sent a little under 1,000 emails in 1 week. That's a lot of emails. But their AR person who was doing it, she was doing it very part-time in addition to all her other stuff. So she wasn't working 80 hours a week. She wasn't working 60 hours a week. She was doing it, within her regular job duties, a little bit here and there every day. Very part-time. And they did not try to slog through doing it in ProLaw, like the 12 teen steps that I showed you a minute ago. What they did is they used a tool that automated it, and it was a tool that I ended up creating that lets them see who owed AR, decide who to email, send out the emails, and all these emails that they sent out included a summary of what was owed and a grand total due, so the client could easily see, like in a table, all their AR statements and the total due, instructions for how to pay if they wanted to pay through snail mail or online, whatnot, attached all the original statement PDFs to the email, and then it logged all that to ProLaw. So basically each client on either on the sort of primary matter or on the client contact has an event document that is the actual email was sent with all the PDFs attached to it, who generated it, like the AR person in the firm who generated it, and the date and time that it was done. So anybody in the firm can see what has been done by whom and when to collect this AR on this client. So the StreamLine AR Manager basically answers 3 questions. How much AR is there and who owes it? What's been done to collect on it? And what do you want to do to collect it? So let's take a real quick look at what the tool does and what it looks like. Okay, so we've got the AR Manager tool here. It allows us to query for the AR and the clients who we want to see by area of law, by attorney, for professional type status, all that kind of stuff. First, I'm going to show you the metrics. So I'm going to just look at the AR metrics for the last 180 days. This is just an eval database, so I don't have a ton of data in here, but I'll just generate the metrics anyway. So I can see total AR trend line here. AR is a percentage of billed, and then you can see the buckets. And again, this is just a eval database, so I don't have a whole lot of data in here, but you can see the breakdown both by percent and amount and trend lines for each for the metrics. So once I take a gander at that, then I probably want to look at the actual AR by client and by statement if I wanted to look at that detail. So I'll run it for everybody and look at all the AR by client in what I've got in my database. So I go over here, AR client summary, and I can see basically I've got 1 row per contact on a client. So I can see all this information. I can see the phone numbers, emails here. If I wanted to call the person, I could do that. If I scroll over, I can see how much batch, WIP, unbilled, which is a sum of batch and WIP, compare that to their total AR, and see if there's any trust or unapplied cash that I can use to, for example, pay down any of the AR. I can also see the last payment date, last payment amount, how long it takes on average for them to pay, how many days it takes them to pay, versus the firm average. I can see when was the last time I did any outreach or had a call to or from them or an email to or from them in regard to AR collections. Any client level collection notes that are specific to that client, if they typically pay within 75 days, for example, or like this one after 3 or 4 reminders. And then any collection activities detail. So these are the actual either calls or emails that you send out that are logged in ProLaw. So a couple of cool things here. You can, if you wanted to, you could look at clients. This blue bar is basically a filter here. So if I wanted to look for clients who have over, say, $4,000 in AR, I could type that in and it quickly does a filter there. Or maybe if I want to see clients who have any monies in trust, it'll show me I've got 1 client here that has money in trust, that kind of thing. So you can see, for example, if maybe you've got clients who you're still doing a lot of work for and owe AR, so maybe, say $500 in AR, there's only 1 in my little database. But you can do these quick filters here to see who owes what and kind of what the status is. So once you've done all that, what you can do is then you're going to want to maybe look at the detail for their statements, for example. And wherever there's a blue text here, that basically indicates that there's a hyperlink. So here on any of these clients, I can just double click. When I do that, it'll take me over to this detail page sheet, and it'll show me the actual statements that are in AR for that client. And I can see that's kind of highlighting them here. What the balance is, statement date, payment amount, and payment date, if any. And I can do that for a couple of other clients if I wanted to look at those, that kind of thing. Next thing what I'll probably do is I'll probably start sending out emails. So I'm just going to send out a test email to myself here and flag this one to send them an email. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll do that, and I just want to happen to see which ones are going to get an email. Sounds good. And let me make sure I've got the right template here. I've got 1 template here, standard. Here's my subject. Here's the body template that I'm going to use. If I wanted to, I can choose a stern template that says reply required or whatever else the subject is going to be. And for right now, I'm just going to use the standard template. So that pops those settings in here. And I've already filtered in who I want to send emails to. So I'll click the send email button and the magic starts happening. It's going to generate the email, save it as a PDF, attach all the original statements as PDFs to that email, and then log that as an event to ProLaw. Okay, so let's go into ProLaw to Foghorn here and take a quick look. Okay, here's the one that I just did. I can see it's a PDF, so I've got the preview here. I can see who it was sent to, the date and time it was sent. I can see the branding there of the signature and everything. These are the original statements that got appended to the email. And then if I want to look and see who did it, it was me. I just did it here, and tells me that it was done. This event was created by the AR manager using a standard email template on this day and time. Pretty cool. If I want to look at the email, we can go and look at the email here. And it just came in a minute ago. So this is all according to the email template that I set up, but you can see each row is for a separate statement unless there are multiple matters on a statement. And I can see the amount of the statement, the date, how much was paid, the balance, and then a running, actually the total now due for the client. And here's some information about payment and everything. If they want to pay by snail mail, they can send it there. If they want to pay online, there's the pay link. There's the signature line. This is saying owner because it's who I'm logged in as. And then I can see the statement PDF. So if I open one of those PDFs, it shows me, yep, this is Foghorn's statement, number 47. That was the one I clicked on. So they're all attached to the email. So it sounds good. So I send the email out, and then maybe the client calls me right away. Oh, we got this email. Can we set up a payment plan? So that's cool. You're already in the tool here. You can see it was sent on this day and time. And again, the little blue thing here for the collection activities detail, I can just double click that, and I'm going to create a collection activity. So call from client repayment plan. I'm going to log that in. It includes some other details there for the payment plan, whatever, and log that to ProLaw. So see, it logs it to ProLaw. And if I go on to Foghorn here, refresh the tab, I can then see that an event here on this day 306 by me was done. So pretty slick. So all that stuff, again, it all gets logged to ProLaw. You can choose to then peruse other clients. Maybe you want to filter them by, who knows, like their total AR, maybe anybody over $500 or something. Whatever your threshold is, you can see who owes over that threshold, and then start sending out emails. You can flag a bunch of them and click the button. It'll send out all the emails for whoever you've got flagged. It'll log it to ProLaw, and you're good to go. Okay, pretty cool. So let me show you, talk about one other firm's mistake about this. And this is a firm who's recently started using the AR Manager. And as part of the onboarding, what they do is they create an email template, and then they start testing it to make sure that everything in the template looks okay, all the verbiage is fine, the pay to instructions are all there the way they want them, all that kind of stuff. So while they were testing their email template, they accidentally emailed a couple dozen clients, like 30 or so clients, emails. And in the email, like in the subject line, in all caps at the very beginning, it said test, and then it said, client name and whatever. So it was clearly like a test email, but everything in the body of the email was accurate. It had all their statements, the total now due, it attached the original PDFs of the AR statements, all that stuff. So they accidentally emailed like a couple dozen clients these test emails. So what do? They're kind of scrambling around. Should we, email them and say, oh, we're just testing this tool, disregard, whatever. So what actually happened is a bunch of clients responded and said, oh, thanks for sending this out. We paid online this morning, or we're paying now, or we just paid, whatever. But basically, from even these test emails, the firm started getting paid, collecting cash. Really cool. So collecting AR doesn't actually have to be a pain. It actually can be pretty simple. So you could continue to do nothing to collect AR and have all these outstanding assets that you're probably going to have to write down at some point and not get paid on. Or you could manually manage it through ProLaw with all the problems that we talked about. Or you could just start collecting cash faster and, of course, even get paid for old statements, which is super cool. So, again, using the AR Manager, it's a quick and easy way to see how much AR there is, who owes it, what's been done to collect on it, because everything that you do through the tool, the emails that get sent, get logged in ProLaw, and send the emails in that are actually going to bring in cash. So if that sounds interesting, or you think that your firm might benefit from that, just give me a call or shoot me an email and we can chat about how to get started.